The ZRG is possibly, well, at least for me anyway, one of the most lackluster weapons ever added into Cold War Zombies. So I decided to get to round 50 with it. Now I know, round 50s on Cold War Zombies aren't really the biggest challenge in the world, especially for someone who plays zombies regularly like myself. However, you can make things just a little bit harder for yourself by using weird loadouts, such as the ZRG, and also, you know, the Rage Inducer does exist, but we'll get to that later. First, I want to talk about the gun itself, the ZRG. The supposed tank killer was added back in Season 2 of Cold War. I actually think this was the first new sniper they added to that game, and I was actually very excited for it at the time. The sniper came with an extremely high damage output, and I mean, very high, especially in zombies. But to combat the insane damage, it has a ridiculously low fire rate, which does balance the gun very well in multiplayer and Warzone. But in zombies, well, it can be quite rough. Speaking of multiplayer, however, the ZRG is actually the gun I have the most kills with in Cold War. Yeah, I didn't see that coming either. Anyway, back to the gun. The fire rate isn't the only thing that embodies a literal granny. No, the ADS time is also extremely slow. Even when the gun is kitted out to have increased ADS, it's still pretty goddamn slow, which led me to my build for this particular game. I'll leave the loadout on screen for those interested in the full build, but the main idea behind this was hip fire. I knew constantly aiming this thing would be a nightmare, but what about hip fire? With Deadshot literally increasing hip fire once acquired, I just decided to fully go down that route. And well, it didn't quite go to plan. And even once I had acquired Deadshot, it was still pretty hit and miss, I won't lie. But the one thing this gun did have going for it was the damage. At base level, no upgrades at all, this thing was putting up over 2200 damage to crit hits. To put that into perspective, I think the next most powerful sniper is the Tundra, which does a little over 1000 damage at base level, which is still very good, but the fact that the ZRG is doing 2200 damage to crit hits is absurd. No upgrades, straight into spawn, that's actually ridiculous to me, and the damage just keeps getting better and better when the upgrades start coming in. The damage output at a blue rarity tier 1 pack-a-punch with Deadshot is over 20,000 damage. 20,000 damage, and the gun's a third of the way to being fully upgraded. That's just absurd. It's so absurd to the fact that I'm fairly certain you can then one-shot a Megaton up to round 24 or something with that exact setup and upgrades. It's nuts. However, with all that damage, there was still one major, and I mean major downside to this gun, and that it's the collaterals. You would think a gun that fires a round about the same size as the average human head, it would be able to take out quite a few zombies with each shot. But no, it will kill just 2 zombies per shot comfortably. Maybe 3 if you're lucky, maybe 4 if your luck is godly. Bear in mind, all of the other snipers have the exact same collat rate, and they all have twice, if not 3 times the fire rate. So honestly, why bother using this gun? When I do challenges like this, I typically avoid using ammo mods, as I do think they make the guns just a little bit too OP, especially considering the one only worth using, in my opinion, is Shadow Blast. And that thing is insane. But considering the low fire rate, I knew I wouldn't be killing zombies very quickly and that I would probably be getting swarmed by them constantly. So I did decide to allow myself cryo freeze, as I thought it would do an okay job at slowing zombies to give me a better chance at killing them a little quicker, which it didn't really do. This is where I opted to turn on the Rage Inducer. In my mind, this was a good idea, but in fact, it was quite the opposite, as the whole not wanting to be constantly swarmed by zombies just immediately went out the window. And now that I'd turned on Rage Inducer, I thought I might as well just see it through, as spawns were quicker and the rounds were going by just a tad faster, but not quite fast enough. In fact, this game was taking so long. By the time I had finished round 25, I had already been recording for 50 whole goddamn minutes. Usually at the 50-minute mark in terms of recording with these types of challenges, I'm nearly at round 50, or I'm at least at minimum round 40, and to be honest, I wouldn't have been having this problem if the gun could collapse more than 2 enemies. So, round 25, I knew I needed something to help speed this game up a bit. I didn't want to be using kill streaks even though they were on my mind, but I did rule them out of the question, which only really led to one thing: Shadow Blast. I know I previously said I didn't want to use it, but considering the fact I'd already been recording for almost an hour, I definitely did not want to be playing this map for what was probably going to be another 2 hours. So I caved, I bought Shadow Blast, and almost straight away I saw a huge difference in time spent on singular rounds. I went from like round 25 to 30 in like 5 minutes. Well, maybe not 5 minutes, but it was definitely less than 10. So let's say maybe like 8. And for the next half an hour or so, my life basically consisted of just running around in a circle and firing every now and then to proc Shadow Blast. Not the most fun gameplay, but it was incredibly effective, and I honestly did not care. The main problem now though, at the slightly higher rounds, was the Megaton. Now usually between rounds 30 to 50, the Megaton doesn't really bother me too much, but I'm not usually using a sniper, where I actually have to know how to aim. And I'm not gonna lie, I had a few close calls due to the lack of, well, accuracy, but I knew that when I did hit my shots, I'd be dealing a mega shit ton of damage. That, you see what I did there? That made it funny. As a fully leveled ZRG, does close to 160,000 damage with Deadshot, which is a ludicrous amount of damage. And even without Deadshot, it was still hitting for around 80,000, which is insane to me. Like, how can a gun be that powerful and still just not be that great? Like, I don't get it. Like, can someone explain to me, like, how? Moving forward into round 42, I do take a down. Now, I won't lie, I did kind of just completely stop paying attention to my surroundings. I was walking backwards like a dummy, carelessly breaking up the train, killing zombies at random, and I inevitably got myself trapped and downed. But this is Cold War, remember, and recoveries are extremely easy. I popped the Tesla Storm, legged it to the Wonder Fizz, grabbed my perks, and just like that, within literally 30 seconds, I was fine. Moving forward to round 50, the final round. I knew once this round was done, the challenge would be beaten, but there was one final obstacle in my way of victory, and that was the exfil. Exfils can be tricky at higher rounds if you aren't using wonder weapons, and I was using a goddamn sniper. And not even a good one. Now, I had kept a hold of some Semtex for the vast majority of the game that I hadn't really used, but that was about to change. I was also considering the little like LTZH grenades, basically the knockoff Gerst devices. I thought they might just be a little bit too much on the whole like cheating side, so I decided not to. Even though I still think using the Semtex was kind of cheating because of how powerful they are, it didn't really bother me. But I knew there was no way in hell I was clearing out 50 plus zombies and a Megaton with just a sniper. So I threw out a couple of Semtex, killed the majority of the zombies, and now that all was left was a Megaton and a handful of zombies. My aim needed to be on point for this, and well, of course it wasn't. Of all times, this is where I decided to choke. Every single shot was missing as I knew I needed to hit crits for the damage, and that was the only thing on my mind. And every single shot missed. And then it happened. I run out of time, the helicopter gets blown up, and I failed to exfil. But I did make it to round 50, so I guess that's gotta count for something, right? Right? If you did enjoy this video, please don't forget to drop a like, drop a sub if you haven't already. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.